whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. I hope you guys are staying dry and safe. Thank you to everyone who was here for my abbreviated show yesterday before I went to San Francisco. And those that messaged me that said they heard me on the radio, which is just extremely funny. Chip Franklin's going to join us in just a moment. Really happy about that. We're going to talk about the New York Police Department. I'm gonna play you a little video so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But they have a dance team. And a lot of people are vilifying the New York Police Department for having a dance team when obviously there's, the whole migrant surge and violence and crime. And they're like, this is what our police department's doing. But I'm going to take a different angle and say, I think it's a little sexist that the dance team is getting a little bit of criticism. We'll ask the question, does any political party own a type of music? Dukes of Hazzard star, tongue-in-cheek, I don't know, straight up racist, basically comparing Beyonce to a dog marking her spot by coming out with those country songs that I actually pretty much like. And then in the second part of the show, as promised, we are going to be delving into our sleep. Restful Sleep MD, Dr. Afolabi Brown will, my interview, I pre-recorded the interview, so I'll be playing the interview I did with her, answering a lot of your sleep questions. So we are going to be delving into sleep, which you guys said in the survey was one of the top issues you want to improve. Before we do any of that, though, click the thumbs up button, show your support for the show. We appreciate you. If you like what we do here on the Nikki Maduro Show, please support us. The Super Chat is also live. And of course, we have our Patreon, thenikkimaduroshow.com, thenikkimaduroshow.com. That's where you can sign up to be an official Madorable. And yeah, like I said, if you like it, if you like tuning into YouTube every morning and seeing myself and often Kim McAllister and our interviews and our chats, please consider donating to the show at our Patreon. PayPal also is open. I know some of you love that. So go to paypal.com, and the email to send the money is thenikkimaduroshow@gmail.com, thenikkimaduroshow@gmail.com. And of course, the merch shop and everything up at the Nikki Maduro shop. Okay. Let's get into it and welcome our friend Chip Franklin to the show. Hello, my friend.
Catchers and pitchers report.
I know. That's right. Spring training is today, and the Panda, I guess, is back with the San Francisco Giants.
I didn't even know he was still in baseball.
I saw him. He played with the San Jose Giants, which is like, the minor league team. Yeah, and it feeds into the Giants. And I remember I was like, oh, this is so exciting. And he could hit, but this was several years ago. And I love listening to the news today. They're like, he's in shape. I'm like, he's in a shape, but
no, he's in shape. They don't tell you what shape.
Exactly.
Yeah,
a circle is a shape, But I'm excited. I mean, I'm not a huge baseball fan. Have you ever gone to Arizona for spring training?
I've gone to, I'm from an East Coast kid, right? So I went to a lot of, Orioles spring training things down there, but I haven't been to, I haven't been out here. Oh God. I mean, in Peoria, I went to see a game a Padres game.
Okay.
Arizona, by the way. So just as an aside, I do a podcast for some baseball players, and Manny Machado was supposed to be on the show. And he's in Arizona, but Arizona doesn't recognize daylight saving time, as you say it, not savings time, right? As you corrected me on many occasions. And so we're having a hard time because Arizona, so it's like, for example, right now it's 10 after 9 here. Mm-hmm. And in Arizona, it's actually 10 after 10. And what it's like, but it's like mountain time, but it's not mountain time because it's
not all of Arizona that does it.
Everything that's wrong with America is Arizona. That's all you got to say. So,
well, my brother lives there, so I'm partial.
By the way, before we get into it, have you watched a documentary on We Are the World?
No.
It's good.
The
It's very
song?
good.
Okay.
It's very good. It's very
Okay.
good. But there's a funny scene in there where they're trying, and it's these guys, they did the American Music Awards, and then everybody showed up at the studio to record the song, which nobody had ever heard before. And Billy Joel, I saw him on talking about it on Howard Stern. He says they got there and Cyndi Lauper goes, "It sounds like a Pepsi commercial," you know? And so Billy Joel said has the whole time this Pepsi. And she was great, by the way. She comes out really good in there.
Yeah.
The two people that are the biggest pain in the ass is the guy, I can't remember his name now. Al Jarreau is drunk off his ass.
Oh,
And
really?
he can't do his part. And Stevie Wonder's a pain in the ass. He wants to start putting Swahili words in it. And they're just like, no, we're going to do the song this way, Stevie. You were supposed to help write it. You never showed up for the writing sessions. And now you're coming here wanting to.
Oh, really?
And everybody just wants to go home. They want to record us. They want to save lives. Bob Geldof starts the whole thing by talking about it. And he's really moving. He's the one that, the one, do they know
Live
it's
Aid.
Christmas
Yeah,
time? And
he
all
did
right.
Live Aid, right?
Yeah.
I
And
think
so he was great. And so he's trying, but here's the funny part. I just want to bring it up. So Waylon Jennings is in there. He's supposed to sing on this thing. But when he starts talking about Swahili, he goes, I don't know what the Swahili is. I ain't going to sing anything in Swahili. So he leaves. He walked out of the thing because of Stevie Wonder talking about Swahili. And he had no idea what that was. So he said, I ain't going to do it. And he walks right out. It was hilarious.
that's funny. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I mean, I love the song. I mean, that was
the story
iconic.
behind it's great. And, and Geldof and these, it's funny. When I was traveling cross country, when I moved to California, we stopped in Memphis. I might have told you the story, but I don't think that many people know it. And I was in Memphis and I was in a bar. We were just, my buddy and I were driving across. He came with me. And there's a picture of Bono in the bar. And I said, I know that story of where Memphis and U2 had this big fight because they, in the song in Pride in the Name of Love, it's about the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And so they wouldn't go. They said, we're not going to go to Memphis because they killed King. And Memphis was like, F you, then we don't want you. And this thing went on for a long time. And so the city councilman was like, I love U2. And he would love this. This Memphis is rich history of music and all. And so he sent a letter to Bono, a long 4-page letter about how much their music meant and how much it means to the town and how we got to fix this thing. And Bono calls him on a satellite phone from some small village in Africa.
Oh, wow.
And says, you're right. So they set up 3 nights of shows where all the money went to charity, the homeless in Memphis. And so this bartender tells this whole story. And then the councilman walks in and he tells us firsthand.
Oh, wow.
And him and Bono are best friends now. Bono calls
cool.
him and sends him kids' birthday presents and stuff. So it's like, I bring this up because this little band that I have, we started doing a couple U2 songs, and I never recognized just how great a song. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And you get older in life, it kind of it resonates on a different level, right?
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to see, with all the problems in the world, some of the people that like Bono, who is,
I'm not a huge U2 fan.
Neither am I. But I
do like him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they put that song. Remember when they put all those songs on our phone, like automatically? Everyone was like, I don't want a U2 song on my phone. But other than that, they're pretty cool.
But no, it's interesting to see that. So they should. And one last one is that, so there's a guy that I play golf with who played football for a while. You wouldn't know. He played like 2 years in the NFL. He was a defensive back, black guy, great guy. And I only bring up black is because, he tries to get me to work with, some young artists, graphic designers that want to learn stuff. And I do it, cool. But he was in a Walgreens in your Fair City. In fact, I think it's the Walgreens that's right down near Market. There's one right, that one's about 2 blocks in from Market.
In San Francisco.
San Francisco.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, down. Anyway, so he's down there and somebody fills up a cart and tries to walk out of the store with it. Right. And the security guy lets him go. So he says, I'm not going to let this guy go. Right. And he's not that big. He's 6 foot, about 210, just really
normal looking guy.
And and it was a woman. And he goes, you can't. And she pulled a knife out on him. Right. But one of the things she was stealing, this just happened last week. One of the things she was stealing was a Clorox, So he grabbed the handle and hit her upside the head.
Oh, shoot. Oh, wow.
And she went down like a bag of cement.
People are getting fed up, man. People are getting fed up, Yeah. And again, well, that's the perfect story to kind of go into what I wanted to talk about first, which was the New York Police Department. Now, New York, as you know, right, they have all these migrants. We're seeing clashes between migrants and residents, crimes being committed, whatever. And so when people see this headline, They're kind of like, what the hell is the police department doing? I'm going to show you the video. Now, I am a former dancer, Chip, as you know. I don't.
You're a good dancer.
Shut up, you. Shut up. We had a Christmas. He's laughing because we had a Christmas party years ago, and I was shaking my booty. And
I videotaped it.
He wouldn't stop making fun of me. But anyway,
you want to see it? I got it on my phone. I don't have it.
Okay. Here's the New York Police Department's dance team. Watch this video. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, play. There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, and 7, 8
in the auditorium of One Police Plaza, New York's finest, marching to the beat of a different drum.
It's open to everyone. So we have ranging from me who's danced for my entire life to people who have never danced before, ever. But as long as you have the passion, that's what we care about the most.
The NYPD Dance Team, which started in 2022, holding tryouts with the hopes of expanding.
The job is stressful, and this is a way to completely release. You come, you know, I like that we're all girls, but I would really, really like to have men on the team too. I just want a bunch of people that like to dance.
The dance team is one of almost 50 that falls under the sports unit, which includes activities that tend to be a little more popular with male officers, like boxing, hockey, rugby, baseball, and paintball.
I want to be like one of the big teams. I want to be like the hockey team and say I got 30, 40 people on the team.
One move to attract more of their peers, pivoting to a new logo that included a male silhouette.
Okay, so that's basically the story. They have a dance team. It gets attention. And now everyone from, you know, conservatives that are upset about the migrant surge to AOC herself is like, how many schools weren't funded for this dance team? Your first reaction to it.
Oh, please.
I think it's a little bit sexist that people are calling out the dance team when, as you just heard, there's baseball, boxing.
Are they doing this on their own time?
Okay, so they're doing this after work, after their shifts, 2 or 3 hours a week for 2 to 3 hours. It's, again, it's made up of, you know, people, volunteers. Now, criticism appears to stem from the city's proposed budget. According to the New York Times, Mayor Adams announced big, deep budget cuts in November that removed money from schools. And people are saying, well, we don't have enough money for schools. Do we have enough money for this? I'm not sure it's the same pot of money, but it is something that goes to the police department. And I think that, and your dad was a cop, right? Yeah. I mean, you need outlets to let the pressure of the job go. And if it's dance, it's dance.
They want to do this. Would you rather they go get drunk in a bar and beat up somebody that looked at them cross-eyed? No.
Exactly.
I'm not saying all cops do that either, but it's a high pressure job that is, you know, thankless. It's a horrible job. And the people that do it, you know, I mean, I think of the Chris Rock thing, you know, that about people say, oh, there's some bad apples. They go, would you say that in any other industry? Would you say, you know, like, yeah, we have a lot of good pilots here at Delta. Oh, we have some bad apples, but, you know. Yeah.
I don't want any bad apples in the sky. How about that?
No, exactly. So I think that, you know, I mean, I didn't know this story, but I think it's a great story. And I don't know how much money they're allocating for it. But it has nothing to, it's not on the level of budgeting for schools and for people like, you know, I like the idea of AOC more than I like AOC, you know?
I mean, I don't really have a problem with AOC. Again, she's one woman in Congress, and people put her up on this pedestal on both sides of the political aisle as the voice, right?
She's the young Bernie Sanders.
Well, and she's a progressive. She's not a middle of the road Democrat, and that's fine. And she can push Democrats to support ideas that they say they support, but when you have to vote for it, there's a huge difference between that. I have no problem with it. I think it is a bit sexist. I think that if these women were starting a softball team, it would never have gotten the headlines, but because they're shaking their butts at dance practice, now all of a sudden it's a big deal, which is just kind of BS. So,
I mean,
it's much ado about nothing. Now, speaking of dancing to music, you didn't know this story. I gave you a little bit of a heads up about this one. Did you watch the Dukes of Hazzard when you?
I know. I haven't seen him a lot in the last couple of years. Good friends with Tom Wolpat's brother, Dave. He was a musician.
Okay.
And so I got all these stories about John Schneider and what a freak he is. This is from 30 years ago.
So here's what John Schneider, and of course
he's an a-hole.
Of course he's on OWN, right? OAN, whatever, which is just a stupid freaking snooze site in quotes. Here's what he said about Beyonce coming out with that new country song.
The lefties in the entertainment industry just won't leave any area alone, right? They just have to seize control over every aspect, don't they?
They've got to make their mark, just like a dog in a dog walk park. You know, every dog has to mark every tree, right? So that's what's going on here. Shania and the other folks you talked about, what they did is they were in country music and they went out. That's one thing. But people coming into country music have because I know a little something about country music, and they seem.
I mean, what does he know about country music? One, and two, Beyonce's from Houston, Texas. Like, I don't know, how much more do you need to be from a place to be able to sing their music? And does the Republican Party have the corner on country music? I know there's this whole flag and Americana and that sort of thing that can sometimes be equated to the Republican Party, but you can't just own a type of music just because you happen to be of a certain political party.
First of all, let's just go back to the bad metaphor. Okay. You know, metaphors aren't for everybody. If you don't know how to do it, it can really make you look bad.
And Chip will call you out on it every single time.
Well, no, I mean, but I love good metaphors. I did one, I was so happy with, I was talking about, I said, Trump's long list of charges against him, almost as long as Ann Coulter's neck, which I thought was a perfect person to fit in there, you know. So when it can work, and it was just like an ad lib, but when you start thinking about, you know, I want to take something out of this arena and put it in this one so you can better understand it. When he says that, I'm not really sure the story about Beyonce. Was he talking about her political activism or
no? So you haven't heard the new song. So she came out with 2 songs. So her new album is called Renaissance 2. Her other album was Renaissance, and it has, as so far we've heard 2 songs, and one is called, you have to go listen to it. It's called Texas Hold'em. It's really good. I like it. It's an earworm. And then the other one is called 16 Carriages, and it's country themed, and she's been wearing cowboy hats but she's from Houston. And
she's an amazing musician.
And it's a good, I like the song. I like Texas Hold'em. The other one I haven't listened to.
Is it a country song? Kind of a more, you know?
It's a country song. And
which country?
That's a good question. I don't know. But I like it. And I think that, you know, some people are like, oh, great. Now libs are taking our country music. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not yours to have, right?
Well, I mean, that whole idea that a particular audience or a particular group belongs to a particular, I mean, that's when the people should wake up and realize that
exactly,
you know, that especially, you know, look, country music fans generally were people that lived in, you know, rural areas, agrarian, sort of away from big cities. And the music kind of grew out of a commonality with the blues, you know, and then also, you know, not really jazz, but there was sort of that shared experience. You know, these are people that that liked a particular style of music. I mean, my father was a huge country music fan, and which meant I hated it as a kid growing up. You know, he said, these are good stories. And I'm like, okay, but they're not. I mean, but there is good country music, just like there's good soul and rap and hip hop and rock and roll, and there's lazy music. So, you know, I mean, she's a really talented artist, and if she wants to try different venues, I mean, look at this. If you go back and look, remember what Billy Ray Cyrus and what was the African American? They did that rap song together about a
Little Nas X.
Yeah, Lil Nas X. That was a great, and that went to #1 on the country charts.
Oh yeah, exactly. And they were in an uproar about it. Remember, because
Lil Nas country X fans loved it. They love it.
Exactly.
And you know, you look at somebody like Miley Cyrus, who was a train wreck in her life, but what an artist.
She was a train wreck. I think she's grown up a bit. I think she's still going to be, you know, flamboyant and out there and all that kind of stuff.
When I say train wreck, I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way. I mean that she just like, she walks, she's like
a
wrecking
ball. Positive train wreck? I mean, really?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the wrecking ball. Some people just come in and they just, you know, they come in the party and they, you know, they're not afraid to say what's really there. You know, they're farting in the room, you know, and I love it. I think that there's sometimes that just has to happen. And she's one of those people. I mean, and I've said this before, like, you know, I mean, some of the people that you admire the most aren't necessarily people, you know, you'd invite in your house because they don't artists, you know, but there are people that really figure that out, and they figure out, you know, the balance between art and life, and they can do that well. And, you know, because art can be, it should,
it's subjective.
Yeah, it should take the existing norms and help you question and examine them again, right? You know, I mean, it's like, I remember the first time I had a girlfriend, I was young, She was an artist, a really good artist, and she took me to see down to Hirshhorn in DC on the mall, the Impressionists. Now, I didn't know their real story and how they went to Paris. And back then, if you did a painting, you had to look as close to real life as you could. And they said, no, the people have these art. And they were like the Beatles, and they changed the way people looked at art. But it was not an easy, convergence from one to the other. And I think that's kind of a real cool area. And I think that's one of the neat things about art when it really works. So
yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. And I like the blend over. I think that, Beyonce obviously is a mega star. She can do whatever the hell she wants. Phineas made a good point, and we talked about it before. Tracy Chapman and Luke Bryan. Was it Luke Bryan? Luke
yeah,
Bryan,
yeah.
Whatever. Doing a rendition of Fast Car. And he really
respected
it.
Tracy didn't do that. It was the same song.
No, but he recorded.
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, it was interesting that the same problems African American people have, and rural white people in Appalachia and many parts of the South have same problems, right? The same problems in that they don't have access to education. The EPA in the states, their areas oftentimes are polluted, and the lead paint and the asbestos. And so all these things that these people are dealing with, and it sucks that you got white and black people battling each other for crumbs, and that's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah,
I mean.
Exactly.
The idea that that after the Civil War, that blacks were welcomed in the North is a joke. Randy Newman wrote a song about that called Rednecks once. I think everybody should listen to it. It's got an offensive chorus, but it's because it's the way people talk. I mean, that's this whole idea that OAN, by the way, is not a real network. That's like the people that couldn't make it into the Fox studio
or the Newsmax. I mean, it goes like it's like in the same swamp as Newsmax.
Yeah, I mean, these are kind of people that think that Trump Jr. is an intellectual. So
I just don't even know. Yeah, just on a little side note about OAN and Newsmax. I mean, how do you even apply to a job there? Yeah, I mean,
they tried to get me. They're in San Diego. They're about 10 miles from where I am right now.
Stop! Really?
Yeah, and they asked me to come down.
Oh, you should have gone and then acted like a wackadoodle.
This is a long time ago. This is before they were crazy. This is 2010 maybe. So a long time ago, and they just started, and they didn't know what they were. And the guy came in. And he goes, "I want you to do like an after." And then and I was the station I was working for, Kogo, said, "Yeah, go check it out." So I went down, and then it was a story about an abortion doctor or something. I can't remember. And the guy said to me, he goes, "We hate abortion here." And I go, "We hate abortion." Yeah.
But that's that like mind thing. It's like, we're not journalists. We're not news. We're not going to dissect
like
the story.
Sinclair, those radio, TV stations.
Yeah, we're going to tell you what to say. And that's it. That's crazy.
They literally did. Sinclair did literally tell people. They ever seen that video? Sinclair, by the way, Sinclair owns about, I don't know how many stations now, but at one point it was over 100 stations in the United States. And one time they sent a script for all the anchors to read about a particular news story. And somebody assembled all the video and they put them at the same time, their lips, and they were all saying,
the exact same thing. It is scary. And, as someone who was in journalism, right, you get the wires, right, and it has a clever first line. And usually it has something to do with a holiday or Santa's going to do something. And then everyone just reads it verbatim, doesn't have any creativity. But when you're talking about politics, that's like a Santa Claus story. If you're talking about something real and you have to say it verbatim or your station's going to get fined, that's scary. That is really, really frightening. And that's why I know somebody had mentioned in the comments, I watch OAN or Newsmax to see what the crazies are thinking, but part of me doesn't even want to pollute my mind with that nonsense.
I have a friend who has she's great. Her site is called Decoding Fox News, and I watch Fox, so you don't have to.
You mentioned her. Yeah. Maybe I should check her out so I don't have to pollute my mind.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I use a lot of their cuts for my videos.
Right.
And, I had one of Sean Hannity yesterday and talking about the $400 million fine. And he said, every bank has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure somebody's not cheating them. So, it's not Trump's fault. The bank should have stopped. And I'm like, wait, he basically said, no, he didn't basically say.
He said it.
He said Trump, he might have overvalued these properties, but that's not his fault. It's the bank's fault. Well, it's called fraud.
Yeah.
When you know something, if I was selling a car and I told you that this car had been in movies and this car could go 1,000 miles an hour, and you gave me all the money under all these fake promises, do I blame you because you were, yeah. I mean,
well, here's the thing with and you're absolutely right, but the whole overvaluing part of me, and I'm glad they found him guilty. I'm glad he has to pay this fine or whatever. But I truly do believe that Trump believes he's worth $1 trillion every day of his life. I believe that he is that delusional. He does not believe he's ever overvaluing himself because he thinks that his brand is worth so much, but it's not. And the loss of the taxes, which is how he was found guilty, of course, is that they collected fewer taxes because he got better rates. It's true. You have to be able to prove things. You can't just say
he would tell the IRS a building was worth this much, so he'd pay this much taxes.
Right.
And he would tell a bank that he was using as collateral for a loan that it was worth more. And he would sign this on these papers, and that's fraud. So it's not real. I mean, when people say, "Oh, this happens all the time," like people, like when I got my first FHA loan, we borrowed 10 grand from my mother, and
right.
That's, like right there, that's a crime. I just admitted to, but everybody did it. Right. And which was different. I wasn't trying to get over anybody because we paid it all back, but I think that there's, and there's something about, I think that we're real close. I really believe this, that where a lot of the Trump support is beginning to get the message, the money to the story out today, Biden's fundraising is 10 times Trump's.
Well, of course, but he's the president. He has the war chest. It should be, what I mean?
No, I mean, but the RNC, he's going to put Laura Trump ahead of the RNC. No, or Loomer. Is it
Laura Trump. Yeah,
Laura
you're
Trump,
right. Yeah.
And she's going to funnel all the money, and other candidates.
Every dollar has to go to Donald Trump. That's what she said. But you saw yesterday or over the weekend the shoes. He was at SneakerCon, and did you see the shoes? And it's a grift.
Oh, did you hear the great joke about this? He goes, "I bought these." He goes, "I bought these basketball shoes, but it seems like now all I can do is take charges."
Stupid.
So funny.
Stupid. Well, let's I want to, just since we're talking about politics, I want to play you this little clip. Now, again, Nikki Haley, the South Carolina primary is coming up, and Tim Scott, of course, is not supporting her, even though
by the way, he's behind in the polls for his Senate run.
Well, he should be because he has no backbone.
Huge points. So, but that's great. I mean,
that's great. Exactly.
It's gonna, if we can actually pick up seats.
Oh,
because
right?
we're real vulnerable in this.
Well, I mean, I know not on the Senate side, but obviously in Congress we're picking up seats. Santos' seat, the latest one. But here he's with Kaylee McEnany, whatever the hell her name is.
Oh yeah.
Talking about
former press secretary.
He is just. He just is buying Trump's BS left and right. Listen to this.
One more question for you, though, on Ambassador Haley, because she did say just this morning, we can't wait to go to Michigan the day after South Carolina. Could that just have been like a throwaway line and ahead of a potential dropout? Or how does this all work? You've been in presidential politics.
Yeah, so I will say without any question, so sometimes you wake up on Monday morning and you realize that the race is already gone. The best thing you can do is within 24 hours is to get out the way. I hope that happens. Listen, Nikki Haley has run the best race she could run. And lately her campaign has been descending. Honestly, it's desperation that you feel coming from her camp. And when you feel that type of desperation, that means the race is already over. And the leading person, Nikki Haley herself, has to come to realization. She has to realize that this race is over. It is best for the country, not just a party. It is best for America that we focus on Joe Biden. And frankly, on Monday morning, February 25th, we're going there either way. But we would love to have her as a part of that team.
No, not going to happen. But does Trump and MAGA have a corner on delusion? Because Trump seems extremely delusional. Nikki Haley, and I haven't checked the poll, so I don't know if this is exactly true, but she was saying something. If it's just Nikki Haley versus Biden, she wins. And so well, exactly. But that's what she's touting.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't in every poll. He doesn't. I mean, he does in some, but he doesn't in every poll. So who's delusional? Who's delusional? Republicans?
Well, that's why she should hang around, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
There's
why job out?
Yeah, I think that the Koch brothers money is still out there. That's not going to Trump anymore, and I think if people see, I mean, yeah, I'm sure when you're in the middle of these times, it seems like end freaking times, and we've all been through some tough times. I mean, I grew up in the 80s with the prospect of nuclear war every day,
Right.
But I do think that You know what I think half the time is what the hell Jimmy Carter thinks happened to America.
Oh,
Right?
geez. Well, you know what else is funny, kind of, in this political way? You know what I'm rewatching? I'm rewatching The West Wing.
I did too. I watched on Hulu, right? I went through them all. It was
I just started season 2 again, and I watched it, and I'm going to tell you the same and that was back in the day that West Wing was created. The same issues, the same infighting. It actually gave me a bit of comfort. Like, I'm like, this isn't new. This is the way it always has been. It always is. And I'm talking border. They even were talking about Ukraine, and it's just like,
well, did you see here's the scary part. Did you hear what Navalny had been writing letters about before he died?
What?
About Trump.
Really?
About how worried he was that if Trump was allowed to continue this agenda, it is exactly what Putin wanted. And this is a guy that obviously is, I mean, he was a leading dissident, courageous, one of the most courageous people you ever see. He went back to Russia knowing he'd probably be put in a prison. Of course,
he went back. He went back.
Yeah. And he stood up. I mean, this is, you go back and, the only founding father that we ever had that ever fought in any of these wars and was injured was Hamilton.
Really?
And yeah, you go back, none of the others fought. None of the others ever fought in a war. I mean, obviously Washington, I don't really count him in that group because he was kind of brought in and he was the general and the president. But, the early founding fathers, if you go back and, the Federalist Papers authors or the Constitution or any of these guys. And Hamilton was, a pragmatist. And back then, Hamilton and Jefferson hated each other. And in fact, Jefferson was planning stories that Hamilton was a hermaphrodite. It was crazy politics too, But the difference now, though, of course, is that, Mark Twain used to say the biggest protection we have is the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, but 9/11 proved that doesn't mean anything anymore.
No,
that the world is a lot smaller. And that, if they talk about how much money we're giving Ukraine, right? Let's say, because Trump said 200 million, but it's more like 85 million, and to continue funding them, which is part of the border bill, but that's not the reason they knocked it down.
Of course not.
The real money that we'll have to pay if they go, what if they invade Poland?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to easily could.
And Putin's like, I'm not going to invade anybody else. We're going to believe you.
And but listen, hasn't Trump been downplaying NATO for the last 5-6 years? He wants NATO to go away because that's what Putin wants. Exactly. And I'm not saying Putin has a P tape of him or him with having sex with 9 midgets or something. I'm just saying that, or 7, whatever number floats your boat. But I'm just saying that there obviously is some sort of connection. I mean, you don't have to go. I mean, when people say the Russian collusion is over, no, I can show you. I mean, Trump's had a long history with Putin and Russia and money. There's a tape on YouTube of Eric Trump saying we get all our money from Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Putin knows he can manipulate Trump. It's just like his interview with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson thinks he's such a strong journalist and all this, and Putin ate his lunch. You know what I mean?
That bow tie bedwetting fool. Yeah, he's it's ridiculous. And
my
favorite was when he was in the grocery store. This is an heir to the Swanson fortune, and he's talking about all these people. Look at how cheap this is. Yeah, it's 50% of their
exactly how much of Russian money is being used on groceries. Like, oh, this is great. This is how you get radicalized.
Yeah, I mean, so anyway, you're right. You should get some comfort in knowing that we've been through this before. I just think the best we can do. And when we're talking to people that support him is to just, say, look, you talk about the economy. Here's the economies under Trump. Here's the economies under other presidents, including W. Bring W in, right? But it is.
Democrats always have to clean up the Republicans' mess. Honestly, I mean, it's just like we go up and down. And I'm not saying, obviously Biden continued the upward swing on the economy. I'm not knocking that, but to say the economy is worse under Biden is just a lie. It's not true.
Well, first of all, if you compare employment, GDP, inflation went up because we pumped $3 trillion to an economy, and now it's coming down again, right? We're always going to have inflation just because that's the nature of things.
Exactly.
You have a finite supply of stuff and people that are growing, so the price of that is going to continue to go up through, short of some kind of horrible war. I mean, that's what happens. But the idea though that Democratic policies aren't always about taxing. Trump lowered the taxable rate for corporations from 35 to 21% in 2018. It's still in place. because there hasn't been a Democratic Congress and president that could get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But those people got a 1-year tax deduction. All these people, so rich people, benefit. So when I talk to Trump people now, I'm excited to do it, and I don't engage with pejoratives. I try not to. When they say that's fake news, and I go, no, it's really not. I mean, you can maybe hate the old Democrats, and you can look at AOC, like you mentioned before, who has policies that don't seem possible. And maybe she's just there as the same reason you put something in the living room that people go, what's that? And it starts a discussion. That's kind of what she does, I think, and her role in all this. And I don't mean to diminish that. It's an important role.
Well, no, and she calls out a lot of truths and a lot of hypocrisy out there. Absolutely.
We can have a conversation with people that support Trump about the actual issues they care about, and which is, their children's future, their future, the economy, like in these states like Mississippi. If there's a great in a book by Michael Lewis called the fifth risk. Yeah. They're opening a water treatment plant that the federal government funded outside of Mississippi Jackson. Remember, they didn't even have water for long. So they went down and they were trying to help them with infrastructure. They have real strong infrastructure problems because there's no money. It's an agrarian society with a few large corporations in there. And so, the mayor of the town asked the federal official, please don't say it's from the federal government, because they hate the federal government. Right. So, so we got to change that. But, in the way of that are people like, Anthony Weiner, intellectuals that are just like Trump. They have no empathy. They're sociopathic. They just care about themselves. And all they want to do is have that, limousine elitist thing. We're better than you, and you're just ignorant hillbillies. And that, I make those jokes. But in the end of the day, I have to make them at Democrats too, just to
absolutely. I just wish that we can, and I don't think we've ever been there. I just wish that we can have discussions about policy without it devolving, right, into name calling and infighting. And although there was this line in The West Wing that always sticks out to me, they're like, and it's a common saying, it's like the things that you don't want to see made are sausage and laws. You don't want to see and in this day and age, we see every step of the way, and it stops progress. Not saying I want to do everything behind closed doors, but sometimes it's really hard for these politicians when they know the cameras and the social media are on them to make the deals that they know are the best for the country.
People have no excuse anymore for being ignorant. I mean, you have access, unparalleled access to information, right? And that means everything. So go out and, it sounds Pollyannish, but learn something new every day. Try to learn something, because it really is important.
Exactly. All right.
And write a joke every day. Try to write a joke.
A good one that's going to make me laugh. You should come on every week.
Make fun of yourself. Write a joke every day. Make fun of yourself. That's,
it's very hard for me to make fun of myself.
It really is. I understand that. See, look at all the makeup she has on everybody.
I do not have that much makeup on. He asked me if I have makeup. Just because I look fabulous next to your head, it doesn't,
my large head. Look how much bigger my head is than yours in this shot.
You don't even need to go up to the cameraman. Everybody knows.
Now I'm smaller.
Now you look like the Beetlejuice guy. All right, that's Chip Franklin. Find him.
There's my Murrow Award right there.
Shut! I know you have to it's like your phallic. There you go. I got it.
Bye-bye.
Chip Franklin. Find him on YouTube, Facebook, everything. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Bye. All right, that is Chip Franklin. We love having him on. It's just too much fun. All right. I did have a couple more things I wanted to play. And again, in the second part of the show, I actually love that Chip just mentioned learn something new every day. I had mentioned this yesterday, and again, it's in the show notes. My focus this year and moving forward, I'm really focusing on getting myself better, healthier, moving more. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning of the year. And I've been really focusing on sleep. And I have been reading. And thank you for so many people. I actually have it reserved on hold, trying to get it to me, Why We Sleep. I have 2 other library books that I'm reading. And coming up in about 20 minutes, I will play you the interview I did with Restful Sleep MD, Dr. Afolabi Brown. She's great. I follow her shorts. I follow her on social media. I've included her website in the show notes, and I'm learning more about sleep. And the number one thing that they say when you want to improve anything is you have to take that first step. It's like you have to work to sleep better. And I don't mean work in a negative way. You just have to work. And so I'm learning a lot of these different things, kind of going off what Chip said about trying to learn new things. And you think it's like, I'm going to lay down, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to go to sleep. but there's so much more, especially in this day and age in 2024, involved in sleeping. And so that's going to come up in the second part of the show. And then I have a fun interview tomorrow with Kalia. I'm going to butcher her name. She's the CEO of the Nap Bar based out of Texas. I love the idea of her business. The story of how she started that business is fascinating. And so that's going to come up also tomorrow. Can you guys click the thumbs up button to show your support for the show? We really do appreciate it. If you like turning on YouTube in the morning or flipping on the podcast, please consider donating to our show. The super chat is also live. It's the $ under the live chat box. And even if you're watching on replay, you can, of course, donate to the show because we love doing it. Please sign up for our Patreon. That keeps us going. That keeps this show going. Go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. thenikkimadoroshow.com. Our Patreon link is there. It's a one-time a month payment, and it keeps us going, and we need it. If you want me and Kim here, it requires us to crowdfund. And so we appreciate all of you Madorables out there, especially those that go back and bump it up $5, $10, $20. It makes the world of difference in keeping us around. So thank you. And yeah, Vicky, I am focusing on health and well-being results. In the show notes and in the show description, you will still see the link for the February survey. And I want to bring it up because I wanted to share with you guys, where all of this is coming from. So many of you have, I'm going to log into my account. So many of you have responded to the survey, and I really do appreciate it because it gives me some insight into what you guys care about, what we're going to talk about, some new ideas. And what's interesting is you guys care so much about your health and eating. And after the interview with the Restful Sleep MD, really interesting story about sleep, your health, and eating. It's like all of these things collide. But I want to share with you guys some of the results from the survey. Now, this was a self-improvement survey that we did. And I'm telling you, 70% of you said in combined that you want to improve your sleep and you want to improve your eating. And here we go. Oh, it's not coming up properly. I'll get it up after the interview, and I'll bring you some of the results of some of the reasons why. This was what I wanted to share. Some of the reasons why you guys say you can't improve your sleep or your health or your eating or your time management. And it's really, really eye-opening. So stay tuned for that. What else? I wanted to talk about a couple of other things before we go to that interview, though. Oh, this is it. Okay, so I should have played this with Chip. So Donald Trump, as we were talking about earlier, almost $400 million that he has to pay to E. Jean Carroll for defamation, right? The guy just can't help himself. Did you hear the latest? I want to play you. This is an interview that Jen Psaki, former press secretary, has with the attorney for Jean E. Carroll. Listen to this.
The weekend, it seemed like Trump kind of came awfully, I'm not a lawyer, but he came awfully close to defaming your client again. So let's just listen to that, and I just want to talk about it on the other side.
We haven't done anything wrong. We've done nothing wrong. This last case is we haven't done anything wrong. How about the one 2 weeks ago? A woman, I'm saying, who the hell is she? Who is the woman?
Right, if you don't know.
It's so unfair what's happening in our country. Our court system is a mess.
So I'm just going to restate for everyone. Trump knows exactly who your client is. He was found liable for sexually abusing her and then defaming her by lying about it. Do you watch these, and could this warrant a third suit as you watch that?
We certainly watch them. It's hard not to. Every time Donald Trump speaks, I think, as we said at trial many times, he has the biggest megaphone in the world. And so everyone hears them, including us and including our client, E. Jean Carroll. And as you said, what he said was absolutely a lie. 2 unanimous federal juries have found that not only did Trump know who E. Jean was, he sexually assaulted her and lied about it repeatedly. Everything he's said about her over the last 5 years has been a lie and has been defamatory. So we're watching, we're listening. We had really hoped that as I think the jury found, that $83 million would maybe be enough to convince him to keep E. Jean Carroll's name out of his mouth. Apparently, he showed us this weekend that he really cannot control himself, and that maybe it wasn't. But we'll see what happens as this continues to play up.
I can't imagine there isn't somebody just smacking Trump upside the head and saying, "Stop talking, stop talking." Now he could. I mean, according to the attorney, she could technically sue him again. I don't know if she's going to want to. I think I do believe there should be consequences when a judge orders you to stop doing something and you continue to do it. Then there is a case for something. I don't know if necessarily that statement that I just played you from Trump is enough. I just wouldn't even want to deal with Trump, in all honesty. But it's just absolutely exhausting. And this also comes as news. I think this came out last week. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer conceded in an interview that his impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden may not result in an impeachment vote. He says because the math keeps getting worse, referring to both the GOP's shrinking majority and skepticism inside the Republican conference. So even Republicans know that it's total BS. Comer told Spectrum News is who he gave the interview to. The Democratic-controlled Senate handles the recent impeachment of Mayorkas will be telling for House Republicans. As we know now, they did impeach. I don't think he's going to be convicted. I think the conference will get to see what happens with this Mayorkas impeachment. At the end of the day, though, Comer says, my goal is to get the truth out there and hold people accountable for any wrongdoing. They're grasping at straws. The Republican Party needs a total come to Jesus moment. And hopefully it'll happen because I do believe that there are honest issues that we need to deal with, not just at the federal level, but here at the local level. Let's talk about policy. Let's talk about how we improve the lives of people. Let's talk about how we improve housing, how we improve, affordability, incomes, equality, all those sorts of things. But no, we're stuck in the nonsense of rejecting a border bill and then impeaching the Homeland Security Secretary. It's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Here closer to home, though, speaking of, problems, Oakland residents, did you see this yesterday? It was all over the local news yesterday. And I'm not laughing. There's a part of me that's like, wow, it has to be bad. It has to be pretty bad where you live if you take this step. And I will really say, I understand it. I think there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. So do not come at me. But gosh, it is quite telling when Oakland residents head to church to pray for their city.
We've seen protests and recall attempts as Oaklanders continue to be frustrated over the level of crime and businesses leaving the area. Now the faith community is coming together in prayer.
We come lifting up the city of Oakland, Lord. We come lifting up the leaders of the city, the mayor, Lord God, the city council.
Through the power of prayer and petition.
God, we ask you to touch parents that they might begin to raise their children where their children would not rob, steal, and kill. God, we need you.
Oakland pastors, the NAACP, and community members tired of crime and businesses leaving the area, including major chains like In-N-Out and Denny's, are praying for divine intervention to restore safety to the city.
We have to invoke the presence of the Lord because our leaders don't know what to do. If they did, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
Okay, can I just stop right there? That quote, I hope Sheng Tao has ringing through her head.
So when you get into a situation where you don't know what to do, pray. We know prayer changes things.
Those prayers come as frustration is building. Oakland NAACP President Cynthia Adams believes there needs to be more transparency and partnership with the city to see an impact.
Come together, tell the truth to the community, what's going on in the city. Stop leading the community in the wrong direction. Let them know what's actually really going on.
With eyes closed and hands raised, community members attending the service are praying not only for safety, but added resources, education, job opportunities, and a generational shift in morals and mindset to provide those responsible for crime alternatives.
We need to have the church and the city come together so that we can reach our youth and adults, and so to help us change the morality of our society.
We need the churches to help plant the seeds in that robber's heart, in that murderer's heart. They don't know, in that child's heart, that child, that 12-year-old that got a gun, he don't know why. A prayer for a safer Oakland, church members believe, will only happen through faith.
He's going to heal the land, and I believe that. And I just want Oakland to know that we're here, and we're going to keep praying.
In Oakland, Valina.
Thoughts? I mean, I just feel like it can't hurt. It can't hurt to pray for your city. But if I was Mayor Shangtao, if I was the mayor of Oakland, and I turn on my news and I see my city's residents praying because city leaders aren't doing anything in their minds or aren't doing enough, I really would, forgive the term, have a come to Jesus moment of, I'm not doing something right here. Something is very, very wrong. LJ, yeah, thoughts and prayers for Oakland, I guess. And I'm not making light of it. But geez, does that not speak volumes? Does it not speak volumes when that it seems, and I know people pray even when it's not hopeless. I mean, I pray every day. It's not that my life is hopeless. I like to pray every day. I like to give thanks every day. But it does speak volumes that these people are feeling like this is all that's left to do. They demanded, a state of emergency. They've been begging Shangtao for a permanent police chief, if not Laurent Armstrong. They're trying all these things, and now they're like, well, I guess all I could do now is pray that the Lord Almighty steps in and helps, because it doesn't seem like we're going to get any help in the near term from our city's leaders. And that is sad. That is sad. Doug asked an interesting question. I mean, does Shangtao just need more time? I would agree with you, Doug, if she didn't reject the suggestions for a police chief from the police commission. I don't feel like she or the city is in any position to delay something as important as having a permanent police chief. It's important. It's important to send a message to your police department. It's important to have a permanent leader. It's important to have a direction. And she just keeps kicking the damn can down the road as if this problem is not going to just continue to get worse. You need a strong message. You need a strong leader. And I'm not knocking prayer, right? And maybe it can, touch the hearts and minds of people who might run in circles that are violent or criminal. Perhaps. I am doubtful enough of those people are sitting their butts in the pews and not out in the parking lots of the In-N-Outs and all those on Hagenberger Road breaking into cars. I'm just saying. I'm doubtful. I'm not trying to bag on a city that has problems. What I'm trying to say is that it seems we've run out of ideas, right? It seems like we've run out of a lot of courage. I don't know what Shangtao's problem is. I don't think that she's going to be reelected unless something drastically changed. Mario says the mayor just got the job to collect a paycheck. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think she's in over her head. I really do. I think that the messaging and the show, in my opinion, of weakness of Shangtao and not appointing a police chief, of digging in her heels regarding Laurent Armstrong, when she could have turned the page, to truly feel like he would have been worse. She's basically telling the city of Oakland, making him permanent police chief again would have been worse than what we're seeing right now in Oakland. I think is misguided. I think it's ego. I think that she feels the way she does about Laurent Armstrong and the oversight, and won't be able to admit that even if she feels she's right, that it wasn't the right decision. Vicky also throwing in Pamela Price. Alameda County DA Pamela Price, totally lenient on violent criminals. I think that she had a platform she ran on, and I'm talking about Price here, criminal justice reform, sentencing reform. And she is going to continue doing that unless and until the voters vote her out. Which, again, it's up to the voters. Now, do we need a recall? This is where I will give a little to Pamela Price and to Shane Tao. There was an election. We could talk and debate again, ranked choice voting, for something like Shane Tao and the fairness and how people aren't happy or whatever. But should these politicians be given enough time to not only institute what they ran on, the platform, the ideas that they ran on, but then be held accountable for the results? If you don't give people enough time to see if their ideas even work before you start a recall, is that fair? Now, with Pamela Price, I could argue, okay, there's a lot of people that are upset about her resentencing of some criminals, right? That's true. But I will also say, in regards to Shane Tao, you can't look around your city, the crime problems, the demands from your constituents, and say, no, I'm going to continue on the way I'm going. You should have appointed a police chief. You took out LaRon Armstrong. That is on your watch. So we'll see what happens, but I really pray for the city of Oakland, just like the city of Oakland is praying for themselves. Okay, so let's switch gears here. I'm going to lighten things up. I know we've been a little heavy. I had some fun though with Chip Franklin. I want to share this interview with you that I did last week. And it's with Dr. Afolabi Brown, the Restful Sleep MD. And as you're watching it, again, the survey that I sent out that you could find in the show notes, this was one of the top issues behind, if I could speak, behind eating. And I'm talking, it was neck and neck. We're talking about like 1 or 2 survey responses as something that you want to improve. This doctor is fabulous. She answers a lot of the questions that many of you had mentioned as your concerns, a lot of my questions. And as you're listening to it, tell me in the comments, not only your thoughts about the interviews and the questions, because I'll be continuing getting experts on. And as I've shared with you, starting a separate journey for those that want to join the community. And it's going to be a lot more personal and a personal relationship with me and you for those that want to. I'm not forcing this on anyone. The show is not going to just totally go towards sleep. That's not what it's going to be, because that's not fair to you. And that's not what the show is. But I'm educating myself, and I'm going down this path. And for those of you that want to join me, I welcome you to. And again, as you will hear in this interview as well, the first step to improving something as important as sleep is to know how well you're doing right now, to have that baseline. And so I have included in the show notes a link to an absolutely 100% free digital sleep tracker diary. It's 1 page, but you could print it out as many times as you want to. It's absolutely free. But it's a week long. I am doing it. I'm trying to do it for a month. I'm already a week into it, and it's very eye-opening. It actually, when you use a sleep tracker and you mentally know that you're doing it, like I had the weirdest dreams. I'm remembering a lot more because I'm making a conscious effort to evaluate and reflect on my sleep. So it's a very simple printout. Keep it by your bed, maybe fold it into your book if you have a book by your bed. And the first thing you do when you wake up, after you pee, if you need to, is you fill it out. And so the link is in there. You'll see it. It's a free digital download for the sleep tracker diary. Just click the link and you'll get it in your email. And I invite all of you to join me on this journey. And please do, because again, I have a lot of things planned separate from this show for those that want to go on this journey with me, and we'll learn from each other, and we'll share stories with each other. And it's going to be a different type of experience. Even though on this show, I feel like we've developed quite the relationship, it'll be a little bit more personal with this aspect. Thank you, Jess, for the $5 donation to our super chat. Oh, I'm going to cry. Jess writes, my teen daughter loves watching your show. You're an inspiration to her. You're a godsend. Thank you. I am just touched, Jess. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And tell your teenage daughter thank you as well. That really touches me. And that's why we do the show. And I love doing it. And thank you for the $5 donation again. We depend on it. We really do. Kim will be back. I don't want you guys to think it's just going to be me talking by myself and with you guys. Kim's going to be back on Thursday. She's on a much needed vacation celebrating her son's birthday. So we can't wait to have her back, but thank you. And for those of you that are wondering about the podcast, Kim's husband is our technical guy that does it. He's obviously on vacation. When he comes back, I've sent him a note and the new podcast should be up. And I'm going to ask him to teach me how to do it as well. That's another, feather in my cap I need to learn as well. So the podcast will be up shortly. I apologize to those that it's been a bit of a while, but we'll get those up as well. I'm not going to play Journey because I'll get dinged for it. And I'm not playing any of the Daily Show either because I totally got dinged for that too. But yes, I saw the comment. I think Lori, one of you was talking about Jon Stewart's on the Daily Show on Monday. So I'll have to watch that. I missed it on Monday night. Okay. So as you guys watch this, let me know what you think. Are there any questions? Are there any concerns that you want to touch on? Let me know in the comments. I'll be doing interviews outside of this show, and I will be bringing them to you in our new kind of community. Again, download that free digital sleep tracker diary. It's very easy. And I'm excited to do that. Okay. So here is my interview. I will remove myself from it, but then I will be back after. It's not going to take up the rest of the show. So don't think that that's going to happen. But here is my interview last week with Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown. You guys know how much I value my sleep. It's been one of and I've said this many times and I've shared this with you because I try to be as honest as possible, that taking care of myself and my sleep and bringing to you guys the experts in this area is so important to me this year. The self-improvement survey that I have given you guys to do this month, thank you so much for all the responses because a lot of it has to do with time management, mindfulness, and most of all, sleep, because we have problems sleeping. We don't value sleep as much as we should. And so I wanted to bring you guys the experts in this field so that we can get the answers, the tips and tricks in order to make our slumber actually successful. Well, Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown, also known as the Restful Sleep MD, is a triple board certified sleep medicine physician. She's a pediatric pulmonologist. She's also the founder of, like I mentioned, Restful Sleep MD, and she joins us now. Thank you so much, doctor, for coming on the show because this is the number one thing that I'm focused on this year. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Nikki. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's start off with, I guess, a little bit of why you're so interested in sleep and the importance of sleep in your life.
I think for me, sleep is personal, or sleep issues are very personal because I struggled with sleep throughout my training, right? Burning the candle on both ends as a medical professional, or even from medical school. The narrative that, sleep deprivation was a badge of honor, right? And so I went through all that, started my practice, and I was still sleep deprived, but I was telling my patients to get sleep, right? So exactly. I was practicing what I preached. And then the kids came along and then they also didn't sleep. So it was just this whole vicious cycle until I eventually hit a wall, right? I had a lot of anxiety, just really a hard time making very good decisions. And I didn't like the mom and the doctor I was being. And so I really feel like that was when I said, you know what, things have to change and I needed to set boundaries. And I wanted to find something that was practical, that was easy to start with. So I targeted my sleep, and funny enough, everything else kind of followed after that.
Now, what have you observed? You mentioned being a mom and obviously being a doctor. I'm a mom. I do this show. The burning it at both ends is very true for so many people. But have you observed something specifically with women in this day and age when it comes to us prioritizing our sleep?
We're not on our to-do list, or we're not on our priority list. I think, and that's where it starts. We don't schedule time for us. So we burn the candle on both ends and we work twice or three times as harder. And emotionally, we're not as well regulated. And I think that it really starts with us as moms, as busy women, professionals, not really taking time for us figuring out what we need to be well. And so many times we're not well.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, our children are watching, right? So, what kind of what have you observed, not just with women, moms, parents in general, but also the children when it comes to them prioritizing their sleep?
Yeah, honestly, even the CDC said it very well that sleep deprivation is now an epidemic, right? It's just so rampant. And even the research has shown that in middle school, almost 60% of middle schoolers are not getting enough sleep. High school, almost probably close to 75% of high schoolers are not getting enough sleep. Now, we know the downstream effect of poor sleep. We know that it impacts learning, it impacts mood, it impacts physical health, immune function, it impacts, decision making, executive function, so many things. And we wonder why sometimes our kids are not making the best decisions either. And one of the things you said is they're watching too. So sometimes, our kids really are watching what we're doing versus what we're telling them to do. So if we're telling our teenager to put their phone down, but we're on there plugged to the phone till the wee hours of the morning, it's hard for them to follow through.
Exactly. And I know that you were mentioning, you work with high achieving women, moms, children. I'm assuming men also come to you. And I don't know if this is true, doctor, but anecdotally in my own life, I feel like a lot of the men I know have not only sleeping problems, but health problems that are associated, whether it's sleep apnea or something like that. Do you find that to be true amongst men?
Men, women, everybody. And the data is so strong. So there's a higher risk of heart disease. So things like hypertension, increased risk of strokes, arrhythmias, heart attacks, all those things are associated with poor sleep. And then again, the higher risk of diabetes, obesity, all those things are associated. And so we see it across the board. We see it in men, we see it in women as well. And this is with sleep apnea, with, different types of other sleep disorders. So it's really across the board. And yes, I do see men also complain or have this kind of symptoms. Sometimes actually they present to their doctors, maybe with hypertension, and they're on multiple medications and they can't seem to get that blood pressure down. Usually, hopefully, if you have a detecting physician or doctor that's taking care of you, they will say, what about your sleep? Maybe we should get a sleep study. And sometimes that's all. That's the link or the clue to eventually getting a sleep study and being diagnosed with sleep apnea.
What about medication? Not just, to deal with hypertension, but melatonin, those sorts of things. Is that something that you support?
Yeah, to some degree. So I really feel like, melatonin has become it's like the hot item over the last few years. I mean, the sales of melatonin, $1 million industry, right? The issue with melatonin is that it is not FDA regulated. So that means unlike all your other, because it's marketed as a supplement.
Yeah.
Unlike all your other medications and other products, it doesn't go through that rigorous testing to make sure, okay, the content is valid, it's safe and things like that. So when you're getting melatonin, which is often over the counter, you don't know what you're getting, honestly. And they've looked at this in research and shown that the different brands have a wide variety in terms of the content. So they may tell you it's a 5 milligram melatonin gummy, but they did this study where they looked at over 30 brands and they found that the range in the actual dose went from anywhere from minus 87% to 478% in terms of the variability. So if you say you're taking a 5 milligram melatonin pill or gummy, you might be taking 10 times the dose, or you may be taking nothing at all. So wow. I think that's the issue. That being said, there are certain times I do prescribe melatonin. I usually will recommend ones that have this USP verification. So that's like a whole pharmacological organization, and the brand or the logo is usually at the back of the bottle. So you can find that. And then I think it's really important to also say, why do we need melatonin? So with sleep, I also say, what is your why? Why do you need it? What's going on with your sleep? Do you have a hard time setting boundaries, but you're hoping melatonin will fix that? Are you worried? Are you anxious? Do you have insomnia and you're hoping melatonin will fix that? So try to focus more on dealing with what the cause is than using melatonin. Now, there are certain conditions. So shift work is a big one where melatonin is actually indicated, or jet lag. So if you're traveling multiple time zones, melatonin can help with shifting that your body clock so that you can adjust and sleep better. And so there are some situations where we absolutely do use it, but I think it's really important, especially with kids as well, to figure out what is the reason, what are we trying to treat here?
Yeah. Now, I know that technology likes to help in this area. Specifically, I got for Christmas, I got one of those Fitbit. You know, you can get an Apple Watch or something and you wear it at night and it tells you about your sleeping. On the other hand, I've heard from people saying that wearing it gives them anxiety, just like, oh, am I getting enough sleep? Do you like the idea of using some sort of technology to track your sleep to give you some sort of information you may not normally have?
I would say yes and no. Let me explain. So it's great if you're, for example, you want to maybe lose a little bit of weight, or you want to be able to exercise more, right? What would you do? You'll check, you'll count your calories, check in, make sure you're reading the label so you'll know what you're taking into your body. Exercise. Oh yeah, you try to close your rings if you have an Apple Watch, or you try to, maybe a certain number of minutes of movement a day. You can use that for sleep as well and say, okay, well, I want to just see that I'm getting enough sleep, right? And, I'm not waking up multiple times at night. So if you're approaching it from a place of curiosity and you just want to track it as you make right changes in your habits, that is perfectly fine. I think the issue is that most people that end up going on to use those trackers are actually people that have sleep struggles. So they maybe have insomnia and their mind is racing, or they have sleep-related anxiety, which is very common, especially around now with everything going on. And so now you're using that tracker to help you dictate the quality of your sleep. And so people will come to me and say, hey, doc, yeah, my tracker said I didn't get enough deep sleep. And I'm like, what does that mean? How about you? How do you feel? And I feel perfect, but my tracker said I'm not getting enough sleep. So help me, right? So we end up focusing more on the data than on ourselves. So I usually will say, listen to yourself, listen to your body. If you start to notice that every time you're waking up, the first thing you're grabbing is your sleep data and you're obsessing, it might be time for you to put it away. Because that's actually a condition that we have now discovered. It's relatively new. It's called orthosomnia. It's when you now have this obsessive fascination with your sleep data, and that is actually driving more of your sleep symptoms rather than you actually having absolute symptoms. So I think it's always a balance. What are you using it for? If you just want to optimize your sleep a little bit here and there, that's fine. But if you have insomnia or you already have difficulty sleeping, that might, if you're not careful, that might contribute to sleep-related anxiety.
What are the number one clues that sleep is the problem? Obviously, if you're overweight or you're going through some sort of major life change, you have teenagers in the house, there are things that can keep you naturally awake with worry or a busy mind. But are there other clues that your body gives you that, it might be your sleep and not something else?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And one of the things I usually say is poor sleep or difficulty sleeping many times is a symptom of something else going on. So yes, stress is a big one, anxiety. So, and I think more importantly, what impact it's having during the day. Say, for instance, you're sleepy. So daytime sleepiness is not normal. People think it is because we're all just so sleep deprived. But if you're continuously sleepy, you're falling asleep while driving, you're falling asleep at the street light, you can't stay awake during a meeting. The first thing you want to check is make sure you're getting adequate quantity of sleep. So with adults, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is good. So if you've eliminated that, you feel like you're getting at least somewhere within that ballpark, then we got to figure out what's going on with the quality of your sleep, because the quality of your sleep, if it's disrupted, is going to lead to that daytime sleepiness. Another thing that we might notice, and again, it may be because there's an underlying medical sleep condition. So that's where it's really like, okay, what's going on? Another thing that you might notice is that constant mental fog, just feeling just kind of out of it, right? Maybe you try to remember a word, or you're constantly misplacing stuff. You might notice your productivity decline. We also see a lot of mood issues. So irritability, you may feel more anxious, you may feel more depressed. So while these are not like absolute, like, I mean, depression is depression, but poor sleep can manifest in these ways. And so it's really important to check in. And I would say, because sleep affects every organ system in our body, literally from our top of our heads all the way down, whenever you notice you're having a new set of symptoms, just check in with your sleep, because that's an easy, I mean, a relatively easy place to say, okay, let me make some changes here. Oh, wow, I noticed I've been going to bed at 1 a.m. and I'm waking up at 6 a.m. So maybe that's why I'm so stressed out and overwhelmed and just really drained and exhausted. Let me make that adjustment, and then we could see what else is left.
One final question, doctor. And again, you can find Dr. Afolabi Brown at therestfulsleepplace.com. You see it right on your screen. What about tracking your sleep? Pen and paper, marking down, did you remember your dream? How do you feel waking up? Do those things work? Because I've heard that they really do make a difference.
I love that. That is, in fact, that's part of my treatment plan. So when I have a client or I have a patient, especially if they're having sleep troubles, the nights that you had bad sleep, those are the nights you'll remember. I have people come in and say, Doc, I have not slept for 2 weeks. And I'm like, it's not possible that you haven't slept for 2 weeks. It feels like you haven't. So let's get some data. So that data is so valuable because it is the true perception of what you feel about your sleep. And so we watch that over time. And so that we actually use a sleep diary. So the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends this in terms of treatment as part of the treatment plan and evaluation for people that have sleep issues. So we're looking at, what time did you get into bed? What time did you fall asleep? Did you wake up at night? How many times did you wake up? How did you wake up in the morning? Did you wake up feeling tired? Did you drink caffeine? Was there a lot of stress? And you can imagine now tracking that for maybe 1 or 2 weeks from a place of curiosity and say, it looks like there are some trends now. It turns out when I have 2 glasses of wine, I have crappy sleep, right? So that is really giving you so much information that you can then say, okay, I need to make some changes. And then you now reassess. And this is really, it's very, very helpful.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Dr. Afolabi Brown, again, visit her at therestfulsleepplace.com. I'd love to stay in touch and have you back on the show anytime. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so that was, again, Dr. Afolabi Brown. I loved speaking with her. To remind you guys, tomorrow we will be speaking with the CEO of the Nap Bar. And what was interesting is Dr. Afolabi Brown had mentioned, you shouldn't be so sleepy during the day. But, you also shouldn't be scared or ashamed, I guess is a better word, to want to take a nap if you need a nap, right? Like to listen to your body. And that is what our conversation tomorrow is going to be about. Also setting yourself up. I mean, the Nap Bar is this place where people can go to sleep, do little power naps. And so kind of describing the best atmosphere for sleep can be absolutely fascinating. Now, again, I want to show you guys. So again, if you want to join the journey, right, download the free digital sleep tracker diary, like Dr. Afolabi Brown just mentioned. Sometimes the Fitbits don't work. I'm going to go through some of your guys' comments because some of you did have Fitbits. I brought up my information from my Fitbit that we'll go over in just a minute. But sometimes getting away from electronics altogether can be helpful. And so that's why I created the pen and paper sleep digital tracker. And so just go in the show notes. It's right underneath on the YouTube channel that you're looking at. You'll see it. It'll say free sleep digital tracker and click it. And it'll send it to your email and you'll get it and track your sleep over the next 2 weeks. And then go either, if you do Instagram or Facebook, you can find the personal community that we're focusing and that I'm creating at Get Some Z's. It's right there on your screen. Get GET some SOME Z's ZEEZ. I had to spell it funky because, other forms were taken. And yeah, so I created a Facebook page. I have an Instagram page. I'll be posting some of the interviews that I do there. Eventually, I hope to create another YouTube channel separate from this one that we can just solely focus on this journey. I'm taking some courses online and I want to share that journey with you guys as well. And so we'll be, dabbling a little bit on the Nikki Maduro show with that, but this is a place where we talk about all sorts of things. That is going to be, quite focused on the things that you guys had mentioned in your survey: sleep, mindfulness, health, getting ourselves better. And I'm truly focused on that. And this is a way for me to stay accountable. And so I think that we should stay accountable with each other. And so I invite you guys to join me. There's no pressure. So I made the digital tracker completely free. I don't want it to be something like that, but I do want to create a new community and a new way for us to kind of help each other. So again, download that digital tracker. It's absolutely free. Let's get into some of your comments. Also, I want to say thank you to Blue Spark, donated $10 to our super chat. I love the comment, Blue Spark. Thank you for distracting me from doing the things I need to be doing. I love it. I'm here for you. But again, one of the things that you need to be doing, kind of staying in this vein, is taking care of your damn self. As a 40-something-year-old woman with a tween and a teenage child, it's hard. Like I mentioned to the doctor, it's hard to focus on yourself sometimes, to take care of yourself, constantly working, constantly running around, burning it at both ends. And it all starts, the reason why I wanted to start with sleep is it's all off of sleep. If you don't sleep well, the rest of your day can be shot, right? And when I worked the early morning shift at KGO, it took a huge toll on my life. It did. And when, I have to work, in San Francisco, that even earlier shift, it takes a toll. Let's go through some of your comments while the interview with the doctor was happening. Heather writes in, I work from home a lot and definitely notice the improvement in the amount and quality of sleep I get when I don't have to commute in the morning. It's one of the things the pandemic was good for. This whole idea that we have to go into the office, right? That there's some sort of business benefit to us collaborating face to face and doing all of that negates, in my opinion, the benefits of people being able to, one, get enough sleep, right? Not having to waste part of their life in the car. So for instance, in my case, because I don't live in San Francisco, and believe me, there's so many times where I tell myself, just move closer, right? Just move closer. My husband works basically near Mountain View. We could kind of find a place a little bit closer. It would save me some time because it's not as if when I get off at, let's say, like I got off last night at 7:00 at night, I didn't get home until almost 8:30, right? That's an hour and a half of my life where I can't sleep. I can't be with my family. I can't do some of the things that I want to do. I can't read a book. I can't unwind long enough before I have to hop right back into bed and start it all over again. And that's the problem, right? So my sleep, I want to stay up and watch the season finale of True Detective last night, right? So, and I wanted to do that. I want to spend time with my family watching a show that I want to watch, and that inches into my time, that time where I should be sleeping. Lori says, I find sleep solutions usually common sense. Hard to implement, though, if you have chronic pain and other health issues. Vicious cycle of bad sleep, making health worse, making sleep worse, making health worse. You're so right, Lori. And that's the other thing. I was bitching and moaning about my sciatica. Remember, I have a pinched nerve in my back. I'm going to be going to physical therapy, doing the exercises, doing the stretching. But it's all part and parcel of the same thing. And that, again, why I wanted to create this community, not just for accountability, but what you focus on comes about. Going to the survey that I sent you guys, and again, it's still February. You have what? 9 more days? I'm like, what month are we in? It's a leap year. 9 more days to fill it out, and then I'm going to come up with a new survey for next month, likely having to do with some of these sorts of things. So let's see. How important is self-improvement to you? Almost half of you said it's very, very important. And if you include extremely important, it's most of you. So most of you want to do something to improve your health. Now, I thought it was just eating and sleeping that were neck and neck, but mindfulness has been thrown in, which I would include in both of these things. You have to be mindful of your sleep. You have to be mindful of what your body is doing. You have to be mindful of what you put in your mouth. right? Those all go together. And that is why I want to do this. So let me go over some of the responses to the question of what challenges do you face in pursuing self-improvement? And they're so similar. Motivation, time, laziness, motivation, time, self-discipline, right? This is why I want to create this community. This is why I'm urging you guys to sign up to get the digital tracker and go to my new social media pages. You can find it on Facebook and on Instagram right now, and I'll be expanding it. Get some Z's, Z-E-E-Z. So we can hold each other accountable. And so I could share in this platform the things that I'm learning. And again, to remind you guys, I'm taking online courses. I'm really focused on this, and I welcome all of you to join me on this journey. Thank you, Vicky. She said, I downloaded the sleep tracker. It looks great. I hope you're using it. It's funny how I keep thinking about the same thing in my mind, right? You got to put in the quote unquote work. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but how many of you may download that tracker and be like, oh, this is easy. This is nothing. But then how many of you wake up every morning and fill it out? And I will tell you, as someone who, created this whole thing and has it right by my bed, it's still difficult. Why is it so difficult, right? To focus on the things that we say out loud that we care about. That's what we need to do. Heather also said, I use my Fitbit to track sleep and it's helpful. But other people don't like Lori said, my Polar Ignite, which I don't know what that is, but my Polar Ignite and Apple Watch give me very detailed sleep info. It's so depressing to look at. Sleep quality usually sucks. Done much research already. Good. I hope you join, Lori. I hope you join this community because I'd love your input as well. So I have my information up. I have never gotten better than fair through my Fitbit. Okay. Never gotten better than fair. Most of my sleep. So let's see, this day, I got less than 7 hours of sleep. And I know I go to bed in order to get more of that, but I didn't. I tossed and turned and tossed and turned and tossed and turned. I only got 4 hours and 9 minutes of light sleep, an hour and a half of REM sleep. I was awake for an hour and 12 minutes, and I had deep sleep for an hour and 13 minutes. It can be depressing to look at those numbers. Now, Chris, as you guys know, I've shared this many, many times. I stopped drinking during the week because I don't want to use alcohol. But I don't know if you're kidding or not. 2 shots of Smirnoff and I sleep like a baby. I know people though that use alcohol as a sleep aid, not pounding cocktail after cocktail, but having 1 or 2 drinks a night. They're like, then I can sleep. I don't want to sleep like that. I don't want to need something to sleep. I want to find different ways of improving my sleep. Ms. Organic, geez, I wish I could be your boyfriend too. Ms. Organic says, I wish I could sleep as much as my boyfriend. He gets 10 hours a day usually. I'm lucky if I get 5. 5, Ms. Organic? That is not enough. But Vicky says men aren't as sleep deprived as women in general because women still carry more of the load. And you're so right. And not only, we're not talking about grocery shopping, picking up the kids, the mental load. The mental load. I was having a conversation. I think it was on this show. Kim and I were talking about something. And I was like, do you think that men sit around and, I don't know, laundry or this being done properly? And I'm not blaming men for that. But there is something either culturally, societally, some sort of pressure that women put on themselves a lot of times that keep us up at night. Absolutely. SF Tesla makes a great point. The principal issue with the non-house population is they have to have trouble sleeping. Try sleeping in a room with 25 people who snore loudly or keep waking up or even roam around. So whenever I watch anything like a reality TV show or, if I see some sort of movie with military people all sleeping in the barracks or bunks or whatever, nope. I sleep with one person and sometimes I have to move to the couch because he's snoring. I can't imagine. If I had to go like on that, the show Survivor, everyone's sleeping huddled up together. If one person's snoring, I'm never sleeping. I'd be the crankiest person ever on that show. It's really, really hard. Katie says, yep, I'd be a wreck if I wore a Fitbit. I know it would give me angst. And that's what a lot of people are saying. And again, to repeat it, that's why I like the pen and paper. When you make, some people call it lucid dreaming as well. When you make a conscious decision before you go to sleep to not only remember your dreams, but to kind of make note mentally that you want to be able to reflect on your sleep in the morning. It helps. Now, it's not 100%. I'm not saying that. but it can help. And so keeping the sleep tracker diary that you can print out right by your bed, look at it before bed. Look at the things on there that you want to try to remember. Document, hey, did I have that alcoholic drink? When was the last time I drank a cup of coffee? How do I feel? There's a little area where you can add little notes. Eric, I don't know if you're making a joke or if you're being literal. My body literally rejects Fitbits. They fall apart when I wear them. Maybe don't put it on so tightly. Jim says, I always hear you need to be in a quiet room with no lights. I have to have the radio on or the TV on and a little bit of light. I think my brain is wired differently. I am the complete opposite. And you guys know, I have it in my list of favorite things. What do I always wear? I wear my Manta sleep mask. Best sleep mask ever. It allows you to open your eyes but not let any light in because it has these like domes, circle foams that go around your eyes. I need complete darkness. And even if I'm alone, my husband's not with me, there's nobody in the house, I still sleep with the earplugs on in my ears. I like shutting everything out. I like that feeling of warm bed, right? Sensory deprivation type of thing. That helps me sleep. And I know everybody's different, but I do mark that down as well. Give it a shot. Neiman says, during the winter, I use an electric blanket after a warm shower and I'm out for the night. Tomorrow, we'll also discuss, the temperature of the room, setting up your room for success in this aspect. Now, the doctor had mentioned melatonin. Lori was mentioning time-release melatonin. But there's also, because it's not FDA, certified or whatever, it can vary in how much melatonin, a lot to none, right? So definitely keep that in mind. I'm not knocking it. I know some people use melatonin, but it's one of those things. Spencer says no meds or melatonin. I hear you. Some people like it. And if it works for you, just document it and see how much, can you ever get rid of it? Is that something that you want to do? Mama, 3 boys. I've been an insomniac my entire life. I worked a 6 a.m. shift for many years and still wake up super early, even if I'm really tired. Now that I have kids, it's not any better. Jess, thank you again for the donation. Another $5. Thank you for the show. You sparked tons of conversations between my daughter and I. Thank you. And Kim, thank you. Spencer, thank you for the $5 donation as well. You're awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And Phineas, my husband does have sleep apnea. He wears a CPAP. And sometimes, because he'll be congested or there's a cold or something, it doesn't always work. Did I tell you guys? I don't know if I told you guys this. You know what I got him for Christmas? And we used to do have these commercials on KGO all the time. The Navage nasal cleansing thing that I've used a neti pot for years and years. I haven't used the Navage because I got it from my husband and I still think it's kind of gross to share the nose stuff, even though you can sanitize it, but he's used it. And basically, if you don't know what a Navage is, it's electronic suction. So pushes water in and then sucks it out. He's used it a couple times. My dad uses a Navage. He really likes it. So if you're congested or something, but sometimes my husband's CPAP doesn't always work. I'll be honest. And so sometimes I have to go to the couch or I'm pushing him too much that he gets his butt up and goes to the couch. Heather says, I still get 90s guilt sometimes for not going into the office every day, but just to be a sleep deprived ass in a seat, it's silly. It is. But this is the way we set up society and we fight against it all the time. I truly felt that COVID was going to fundamentally change how we have business and work in this country, in this world. And it lasted for a while, but not forever. Spencer says, I stay away from social media. That's interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned that. There was this article in the New York Post I was going to add to this conversation. So this is perfect. Have you ever heard of something called popcorn brain? It's if you're feeling overwhelmed by the nonstop pace of digital media and find yourself struggling to concentrate on a single task or thought, you might have popcorn brain. Dr. Daniel Glazer told Metro UK last week, popcorn brain refers to the tendency for our attention and focus to jump quickly from one thing to another, like popping corn kernels. It's not new. This whole phenomenon and term was coined actually in 2011 by University of Washington researcher David Levy. But mental health experts are sharing new ways to combat the phenomenon. One study found 62% of the global population is on social media. The average daily usage last month clocked in at 2 hours and 23 minutes. How many of you track on your phone how much you're on these apps, right? It's very, very important. A psychologist said last week, excessively scrolling and browsing through new posts, alerts, engagements, and advertisements triggers a small dopamine release that rewards the brain and fuels the cycle. And over time, this constant demand for attention and the rapid switching between tasks can lead to a feeling of mental restlessness or the brain bouncing around as it struggles to maintain focus. So think about that. You're trying to sleep. And what do so many people, I'm raising my hand, do right before going to bed? You're either watching TV, you're scrolling. Most of the time, you're scrolling your phone, social media, checking those emails. You're doing yourself a disservice. And again, that's why I wanted to make the digital tracker paper and pen. Write it down. Don't, and I have the Fitbit and I still wear the Fitbit and I like it. And there's a place for technology and things. I'm not knocking technology, but slowing things down, making a conscious effort to put the phone away, to read an actual book, not on a Kindle, not knocking Kindles, but just getting back to tactile, right? Analog, whatever term you want to use, can help. Let's see. Mama, 3 boys, my husband snores and I'm often so tired. I don't even hear it anymore. Oh, I do. I'm a very, very, very light sleeper, hence the earplugs and the eye mask. It's just something that I need to do. Let me see what else. Chris, that's interesting. He's the opposite end of the sleep spectrum. I've never had a problem with sleeping with noise. It's the silence that bothers me. Melody says 11 p.m. is my witching hour. If I go to bed after that, I can't fall asleep. How many of you are like that, right? It's like, especially, so if I work the morning shift, the morning drive in San Francisco, I have to get up at 2:00 in the morning. I can't go to sleep physically. My body will just not. And again, it's not constant. It's not like my body can get used to a new sleep cycle. It's a one-off. It's maybe 2 days here, and then I don't do it for a couple of weeks. So that's not going to be good for my body. I try to get into bed at 7:30. My body does not want to go to sleep at 7:30, but I'll lay down. And of course, even though I'm on the path in the past, turn on the TV. I put in my earplugs. I try to do certain things. I try to read a book. I try to do the things, but my body is just not ready for it. And then once a certain time hits, then I'm just doing math all night. Oh, if I go to bed now, if I go to bed now, then I have 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. It's just really, really hard. Ron, good. I'm going to join. He's going to join our little community. Good. I think I'd benefit from better sleep. I'm often tired. My doc says exercise a mile a day and I'll sleep like a log. So I'm going to try it with Nikki. Hands down. I need to go back in the gym. Again, my sciatica has been acting up and my doctor told me to lay off and just do stretches. But I do really, really want to start getting back into it. And I'm happy that you're joining us. And again, just to let people know and to throw it up there, go on Facebook or Instagram, Get Some Z's, Z-E-E-Z. Sorry, I had to be cute with it. Is the name. So you could just look that up. It has the same kind of teal logo. You'll see it there. And we're going to start the community, but to stay up to date, download that free digital tracker and that'll start and keep you in the community for the very latest things that I create and the interviews. I'm loving this. Ms. Organic, and a bunch of you are mentioning it as well. I do take a 5-gram gummy if I don't have to commute in the morning. I'm assuming you mean THC or CBD. Let me know, Ms. Organic. Spencer says edibles are legit. I know so many people, and sometimes it's like if it's a gummy bear, they'll just like eat the head off of it, right? They don't even take the whole thing. I don't particularly like edibles. I don't like ingesting, I'm going to call it food in this way. I feel like I have less control over it. And then again, it's a mental thing for me, right? It's like, was there too much in that? How do I know how much was in it? How do I know what it's going to make me feel like in the morning so I don't mess with it? And again, I don't do alcohol, John, not Monday through Thursday. And I'm not, I'm saying Monday through Thursday because I'm being honest with you guys. I'm going to always be honest. I drink during the weekend, but I do not drink during the week anymore. It's just, unless it's a special occasion or something like that. I really don't, because I don't want it to mess with my sleep. BW says wireless earbuds are magical for sleeping with snores. So I need silence. I need silence. I need my own, I need that sort of thing. So, yeah, Liz, we're twins. Very light sleep. I wake up to all sounds, even with earplugs in. Now, I have been hearing, and this is on my list of wanting to get some experts on to talk about. I have heard about magnesium. Apparently, and this is what I'm going to be working on. And thank you for reminding me, Cisco. Magnesium 2 hours before sleep will help. I've heard and read that a lot of people have a deficiency in magnesium. So we'll delve into that as well. And I'll get somebody on to kind of talk about that. How do we know? Should we just assume that we have a magnesium deficiency? Because sometimes I feel like you see something in the headline and you're like, oh, that's going to solve the issue. And you don't actually talk to your primary care doctor or get a blood test or whatever you need to do to confirm it. You just tell yourself, and then you buy something like magnesium and you ingest it and thinking it's going to work, when that might not be the case, or it might be the case. So we'll talk about that. John says, I try to do lucid dreaming for a while. Every once in a while, I'm successful, but I'm so excited in the dream that I wake myself up almost instantly. I had the weirdest dreams last night. And now as I'm talking about it, it's like slipping away, right? It's like, oh, I remembered it. I should have written it down more. And again, I had my sleep tracker and I didn't write down my dream. But that's another thing that I want to work on. I don't know how many of you have dream journals, and it doesn't need to be fancy. Just get a notebook, right? Put dream journal on the front of it if you want to. I want to make a nice one, because I feel like I write things better when I like the book. But writing down your dreams can really, really help. But again, telling yourself, I'm going to remember my dream tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to remember my dream can help. It's not 100%. I've been doing lucid dreaming for years on and off. DL, this is another thing that I've also tried to practice. Part of sleeping is learning to relax your body, relaxing each muscle one by one, going up, starting with your toes, your feet, your ankle, and just doing all of that can do it. And again, tomorrow during the interview with the CEO of Nap Bar, she also has some tips and tricks for falling asleep and how she falls asleep more quickly. Cold rooms. A lot of people promote cold rooms. I hate being cold, but a cold room and what I like, a nice warm blanket with a cold pillow. That's what I like. That's my favorite. Phineas, my best sleep is when I have a colonoscopy. Yeah, I have not ever had one. I have heard that same thought regarding it. Yeah, definitely. The Navage ads gross me out. Yeah, it's totally gross. My husband did it. He did it in front of me. I thought it was totally disgusting. But as I'm like wiping my nose because I have a runny nose, looks like it totally works. Oh, I'll have to research this then. Lori says she asked her ENT or ear, nose, and throat doctor about Navage, and she discouraged it. I'm trying to scroll down. If you told me why she said that it was bad. I'm just kind of going through these live. So let me know again, or I'll scroll down to it. But it's not cheap, Karen. It's like $100. It's $100. If you have a health savings account, though, I do believe it covers it. I do believe it would cover something like that. But why, Lori? Why did she discourage it? Because I definitely want to know. I just kind of got it because my dad's used it and he swears by it. And so I got it for my husband to hopefully get all the congestion out so that he can go to sleep and not snore and wear his CPAP machine. Phineas says, who has sleep apnea and tinnitus? I think I'm saying that right. Silence makes it worse. Okay. I can imagine that, kind of the ringing in the ear. Oh God, that would drive me nuts. There was some celebrity, tragically, I feel like, unlived themselves because they had a severe form of it. Tinnitus. I think I'm saying that correctly. It would not stop. That would drive me nuts. I would go, literally insane. I can't imagine having that. That would just make me, and my heart goes out to people like that. Absolutely. There are these things for people that need to be calm. They're not earbuds to block out sound. They kind of dim, and you wear them actually when you're awake. My sister-in-law wore them and turned me onto them. I've never used them, but she showed me them. She's like, it just keeps me calm when I know that I'm gonna. Well, she's probably gonna be around me and my loud ass. Just kind of bring down the volume of light of the loudness, I should say. Maud says, I just listen to the voices in my head. They lull me to sleep. There you go. I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh, Lisa says, I was told by my grandma to eat sunflower seeds before bed because of the high magnesium. Interesting. And interesting that your grandmother said it. So it's like a thing, right? Yeah, I'll be getting some experts on magnesium to talk about it. Yeah, Lori, I just bought it for my husband for Christmas and it was $100. I don't know if it was on sale because of the holidays, but yeah. It works. It definitely sucks everything out of your friggin' head. And I like that. I also too, Maud, have a weighted blanket. And it's nice. It's heavy. It's not the heaviest. And you have to be careful with little kids if you have a weighted blanket. But yeah, I think that all of these tips and tricks, what works for one may not work for another. But why I wanted to create this community and to remind you guys is accountability. Because again, going back to your survey, the challenges in pursuing these improvements, time, motivation, dealing with life challenges, getting support. A lot of you mentioned just the accountability and the support system you need. Discouragement, one person said, lack of time, laziness, right? Stress, focus, consistency, just keeping at it, self-discipline, stick-to-itness. I love that. And I don't make time for it, right? But so many people, self-motivation, self-motivation, self-motivation. And so again, with this community, I want more personal accountability, not just for you, but for me as well, right? That's why I'm taking these courses. Not so I'm just like spitballing stuff here, that I'm actually learning something and sharing with you on this platform. And I'm excited that some of you will follow over to this new community that I'm creating. And again, I don't want anyone to feel pressure to join. If this isn't something that you feel like you can do, or it's just going to add a stress to your life, I don't want to do that. But again, this is where we can share things, where we can hold each other accountable, and that where I can bring you expert information and we could see what works and have some new ideas. So again, finally, just download that free digital sleep tracker diary. It's one page. Again, it's free. You could print it as many times as you want to, but it's a 1 week. Every page is a week. So keep it in your book, keep it by your bedside table, with a pen or a pencil, and just make a mental note that you are worth the minute at the most it takes to fill it out daily. It's not that long. It's not that hard. You deserve it, right? You deserve, and you know what? I'll say even this, and this might be a little TMI. Put it in the bathroom if that's where, you have to pee first thing and you're just going to sit there. But put it in there and make a mental note and jot down all your things. It's there at night right before you go to bed. It's there right when you wake up in the morning. That's another thing. So, and again, mindfulness will also be including in that, because I've been a huge, what you think about, you bring about type of person for years and years and years. And it's something that I also love to talk about and to share. And so you guys just find me, find the community. Again, on your screen, get some Z's, GETSOMEZEEZ on Facebook and Instagram, and coming soon to YouTube. Okay. We have about 10 minutes left. I did want to end on a good high note. And since we're talking about wellness and improving yourself and food, I did want to play this story. And I'm really hoping that I have it. Yes, here we go. Okay. Did you guys see this? I woke up to this news, and because we're talking about food, this could be huge for those of you with food allergies. This is something that's very, very exciting.
So the FDA today had has approved a drug that can reduce the risk of severe allergic reactions to food.
Circle of Health reporter Denise Dedore joins us with details on this medication. Denise.
This could give people a lot of peace of mind. And if you have food allergies, you know the dread. You'll be at a gathering and no one can tell you for sure if there are peanuts or eggs in any of the food. So you take a risk or you don't eat at all. Now, a medication used to treat asthma can now give people with food allergies some peace of mind. About 17 million Americans have the type of food allergies that can cause severe anaphylactic shock.
It can be very fatal very fast.
Now, Xolair, prescribed for allergic asthma flare-ups, is FDA approved to prevent severe food allergy reactions in patients as young as 1. Xolair is a monoclonal antibody that binds to a specific antibody called IgE, which triggers the immune cascade.
Oh boy, when you start releasing histamine, you can get flushing and wheezing, and a lot of the signs of, a bad reaction happening.
Dr. Raj Dasgupta, a pulmonary critical care specialist, says in a study, 68% of peanut allergy participants tolerated about half a teaspoon of peanut protein compared to 6% of those who received a placebo injection. Doctors measure IgE levels and weight to determine dosage. The drug itself can cause anaphylaxis, but it's a small risk.
I believe it's 0.1%. But that's why you want to get the first couple of doses in a healthcare setting. Then they actually have a home injection.
People on the biweekly to monthly Xolair stay on it for life. Patients still need to avoid food allergens and continue to carry an EpiPen. Doctors say Xolair is more like an insurance policy against accidental exposure.
I think that's huge. And so again, obviously it's a decision to take something for the rest of your life. But if you know anybody with a food allergy, that's huge as well. And so that's very good news. And again, I want to read just real quickly John's comment about the dream journals. For a while, I was waking up writing dream journals. Once I woke up and started writing about my dream in the journal, and I realized I was actually still asleep and dreaming and woke up for real. Yeah, that's really, really important. And Lori with the final comment on all of this, because it's absolutely correct. Please remember, everyone is different. With supplements, be careful. Check all supplements to make sure you're not getting something from many sources. Life extension resource, his research. Life extension resource. Just research. I don't know what that last sentence says. But yeah, you should definitely talk with your doctor. Look and see and make sure you know exactly what you're getting and from where. Okay, guys, that's our show. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have another segment on sleep. I appreciate all of you guys, kind of going on this journey with me. I promise you won't want to miss this other interview I did with the CEO of the Nap Bar. You can research it. It's fascinating. Now, I will say this. We live in the Bay Area, and so we've heard of like Google and the sleep pods. This is that on steroids. Okay, this isn't just they have some pods, and if in between engineering work, you can go in there and take a quick nap. This is way beyond it. They actually were at the Grammys Nap Bar. They had a little pop up there. They were selling some of their merchandise, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And Kalia, she is so much fun. She has the best energy ever. And so I'll share that interview with you guys tomorrow. Again, thank you to everybody that's already done it. Make sure you download the free digital sleep tracker. It's in the show notes. So just go into the about section of this and you will find it there. You'll also find it on my social media pages, the Get Some Z's Facebook page and Instagram page. There is a link there as well. So if you want to do that, follow those pages as well, because I'll be putting the latest and greatest information. And thanks, guys. I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be something where we're going to have a more personal relationship, and I will be explaining all of that as this develops. And I appreciate all of you so much. Mark should be live. Normally, Kim is the one that gives me all the information on that. I'm not sure. I apologize about the after party live. I should have checked. But maybe John Daly's there. Maybe they recorded. I don't know. But keep it on YouTube. Follow those shows. It is our family. I love all of you. I'll be back tomorrow. Sleep well. And we'll talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.